Every country has a sky above it and land beneath it. Together, they form something powerful, something sacred in international relations. That concept is sovereignty. And whenever reports of a foreign military operation surface, one question follows: who truly owns the skies, and who has the right to operate in them? Sovereignty means that a nation has full authority over its territory, its people, its airspace, and its security decisions. It is more than politics. It is identity, dignity, and independence. And under international law, no country is supposed to enter another nation's territory to conduct a military strike, unless very specific conditions exist. Globally, foreign military action inside another country is usually only legal when one of three conditions applies. 1. Consent from the host nation. 2. Self-defense under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. 3. A United Nations Security Council mandate, which is rare and heavily scrutinized. Anything outside these grounds is widely considered a violation of sovereignty. In many cases, when operations occur on foreign soil, they are not unilateral. They happen through quiet agreements, intelligence sharing, or joint security partnerships. Sometimes governments approve actions privately, not because they are weak, but because public disclosure may trigger political backlash, fear, or controversy. In these situations, a strike may be secret, but still legal. Legally, consent protects sovereignty, even when the public never hears about it. The second justification is self-defense. Some countries argue that if a credible threat or armed group operates from another territory, and that state is unable or unwilling to neutralize it, then limited action may be taken. But critics say this doctrine is dangerous because it gives powerful nations the ability to act without permission, opening the door to interventions that may appear lawful, but still undermine sovereignty in practice. This is one of the most contested debates in modern international law. A United Nations mandate is the rarest pathway, typically reserved for wider conflicts, peacekeeping, or global security emergencies. It requires global agreement, multiple countries, and formal authorization. Most counter-terror operations, however, do not fall under this category. Nigeria is a regional power, politically, economically, and militarily. Its sovereignty is not symbolic. It is deeply guarded, which is why any hint of a foreign strike instantly raises questions. But geography complicates the story. Thousands of kilometers of borders stretch across rivers, forests, deserts, and remote settlements, areas where armed groups move between countries. This reality means Nigeria, like many nations, sometimes relies on regional partnerships, intelligence sharing, and international assistance, raising the delicate balance between cooperation and autonomy. So how do observers determine whether a foreign strike is a legal collaboration or a breach of sovereignty? They look at three key signs. 1. Did the government publicly condemn the action? 2. Was there diplomatic protest or escalation? 3. Do officials later reference cooperation, even indirectly? When a nation's sovereignty is violated, responses are usually immediate and loud. Condemnations, formal notes, sanctions, or recalls. When silence exists, it often suggests classified coordination or unresolved ambiguity. For citizens, sovereignty isn't just law or politics. It shapes security, borders, travel freedom, international reputation, and trust in government. It influences how countries negotiate partnerships, how safe travelers feel along highways and borders, and how Africa positions itself in a world where power is constantly shifting. In Episode 3, we move from law to geography. We explore the landscapes, trade corridors, migration routes, and border zones of northern Nigeria, and how geography shapes conflict, movement, and security. This is northern Nigeria, a land not defined by walls or fences, but by roads, rivers, borders, and movement. Here, geography isn't abstract. It determines how people live, work, travel, and how power reaches them. Northern Nigeria is connected to the Sahel, a vast region stretching from the Atlantic to the Red Sea. Borders here are lines on a map, but in real life, they are porous zones shaped by trade routes, seasonal migration, and daily travel. Long highways cut through deserts and forests, linking cities, towns, and communities across hundreds of kilometers. Trucks haul goods north and south, and families travel for work, school, and celebrations. This is movement territory, not fortified territory. These roads are the lifeblood of regional commerce. A trader in Sokoto may sell grains to buyers in Niger, and a trucker hauls rice from the coast into the interior. These are economic lifelines that sustain millions of livelihoods. Borders here are not walls. They are networks of trails, animal paths, and informal crossings. A farmer may cross into neighboring Niger to sell produce, and nomadic herders move cattle across borders. Youth travel for school or job opportunities. For the people who live here, borders are not about restriction. They're about opportunity and survival. In towns and villages across northern Nigeria, travel is part of life. Buses leave early for distant cities, and drivers make long overnight journeys. This open geography benefits ordinary people, but the same routes are also used by armed groups, just as travelers on the same roads. This is a reality governments struggle with. How do you protect movement without closing the lanes of life? Security and travel are two sides of the same coin here. A highway that brings goods and jobs can also be exploited by criminals. When violence or insecurity rises, travel slows. When governments try to secure borders, ordinary movement is affected. So when a foreign military strike is reported in this landscape, it creates an immediate conflict in people's minds. How can a nation defend its borders without restricting the lifelines that bind its people? The question isn't just legal, it's deeply practical. Because the same roads that carry goods also carry movement, memory, and life. In Episode 4, we go beyond land and roads into the politics and sovereignty debates that this geography makes inevitable.
Every nation is sovereign. It controls its land, its skies, its borders, in law, in principle, and in dignity. So when reports of a foreign military strike inside Nigeria emerge, one question rises immediately. Did another country act inside Nigerian territory? And if yes, what does that mean for sovereignty? This episode isn't about rumor or outrage. It is about law, power, consent, and reality. Sovereignty means a nation has the exclusive right to control what happens inside its territory. No foreign military may enter, strike, conduct operations, or deploy weapons without permission, unless specific international laws apply. On paper, the rule is simple. A country controls its airspace. A country controls its borders. A country decides who may operate within them. But in real-world geopolitics, sovereignty is not only about law. It is also about leverage, capability, and power. In modern international practice, foreign military action inside another country usually happens under one of three conditions. 1. Consent. The host government invites or authorizes assistance, openly or quietly. 2. Multinational or UN-linked cooperation. Operations happen through joint task forces or regional security agreements. 3. Unilateral action. A country acts without permission, claiming self-defense or strategic necessity. The first is legal. The second is complex but recognized. The third is the most controversial and often challenged. In all cases, politics and power shape outcomes more than slogans do. Nigeria is not a weak state. It has a professional military, intelligence agencies, and constitutional authority over its territory. But like many border zone nations, it faces porous boundaries, vast rural terrain, trans-border movement, non-state armed activity. This reality creates constant pressure on security strategy. And it is in environments like this that questions about foreign intelligence, cooperation, or external involvement often emerge. That is why sovereignty debates in Nigeria are not theoretical. They are geographical, political, and real. Here is the reality, spoken clearly. International law says no country should operate militarily inside another without consent. But global power dynamics tell a different story. Some countries act first, justify later, or operate covertly, quietly, indirectly, or through partners. Sometimes operations are coordinated in silence. Sometimes acknowledgement never comes. Sometimes denials and ambiguity are deliberate tools of diplomacy. This isn't unique to Nigeria. It happens across borders worldwide. The line between authorized cooperation and foreign intrusion is not always visible to the public. Sovereignty is not lost because a foreign country acts, but sovereignty is tested when another state operates within national borders. The true measure of sovereignty is Who makes decisions? Who controls the aftermath? Whose authority is acknowledged in public and in practice? A nation may protest. A nation may negotiate. A nation may cooperate quietly. What matters is whether the state remains the final authority over its territory, its people, and its choices. Sovereignty is law, but it is also credibility, negotiation, and strength of institutions. The question many people ask is simple. Does the United States, or any powerful nation, have the right to operate in another country at will? The answer is clear. In law, no. In geopolitics, power often bends reality. Nations act when they believe their interests are threatened, their citizens or forces are at risk, or strategic objectives demand it. But every such action carries political costs, diplomatic tension, and moral consequences. No strike anywhere in the world is ever neutral. Sovereignty is not just territory on a map. It is dignity, authority, and the right of a nation to decide its future. Foreign strikes, real, disputed, or alleged, raise deeper questions. Who holds power? Who sets the rules? And how should nations protect their people without surrendering control of their own space? In Episode 5, we move from law and politics to the human impact, communities, fear, mobility, and daily life.
In northern Nigeria, movement is life. Traders move, travelers move, families move. Migration routes stretch across villages, markets, borders, and deserts. But after any event linked to external military action, real, alleged, or disputed, one thing always follows. Movement slows, trust collapses, and fear spreads faster than facts. This episode looks at what happens to daily life and mobility when the skies become uncertain. In frontier communities, rumor is a force of its own. One message becomes 10, 10 become 100. Before morning, entire villages believe the air is no longer safe. Even when there is no visible destruction, no crater, no smoke, only reports, statements, and silence. People still ask, should we still travel tonight? Is the highway safe? What if the skies are not ours anymore? And so, people move differently, cautiously, hesitantly, reluctantly. In regions where roads connect Nigeria to Niger, Benin, and the wider Sahel, travel is not just transport, it is survival. Drivers begin avoiding night journeys. Passengers change routes. Transport unions warn members quietly, move carefully. The environment has changed. Cross-border traders delay trips. Farmers hesitate to travel to distant fields. Young men heading toward migration paths pause their plans, not because violence has occurred, but because uncertainty itself becomes a barrier. In cities, fear is loud. In rural towns, fear is silent. Nobody protests. Nobody shouts. Everyone simply watches the sky and keeps their voices low. Mothers whisper to their sons, "Stay close to home." Village elders say, "Let us not move far until we understand what happened." Even normal sounds, a passing jet, a loud thunderclap, suddenly feel different. This is not just security. This is psychology, dignity, and survival. After events like this, security tightens. Travelers face more screening, more questions, longer road stops, suspicion of strangers. Ordinary commuters become unintentional subjects of counter-terror suspicion. For people who simply want to move from one town to another, movement becomes a negotiation, not a right. And every restriction shapes how people see the state and the world outside it. The communities of northern Nigeria do not live inside rigid borders. Families stretch across countries. Markets connect cities separated by lines on a map. So when an alleged foreign strike, or even the rumor of one, enters public consciousness, it does not only affect Nigeria. It affects herders who move with cattle, merchants who trade across borders, migrants who travel north toward the Sahara, and those who return home from abroad. People begin to ask, if the skies are contested, who truly controls the land beneath them? There is a cost that statistics never record: delayed journeys, abandoned trips, canceled ambitions, silent anxiety. Movement defines identity here. So when people feel watched, uncertain, or exposed, they do not only stop traveling, they shrink their world. And yet, life continues. Markets reopen. Trailers return to the highways. Travelers board night buses once again. But something remains, a memory, a doubt, a quiet awareness that the world is bigger and more fragile than it appears. The road never forgets, and neither do the people who travel it.
In northern Nigeria, the roads, the borders, and the skies are more than geography. They are symbols of sovereignty, life, and movement. Over the past episodes, we've explored reports of foreign military action, the meaning of sovereignty under international law, how geography shapes security and mobility, the human consequences of fear and uncertainty. Now it is time to see the bigger picture. Legal sovereignty says, no foreign military should act inside Nigeria without consent. Practical sovereignty says, Nigeria must protect its people and territory, even in areas where borders are porous, roads are vast, and threats are mobile. The truth is simple. Law, geography, and power often collide. Foreign powers may act unilaterally or with cooperation. Nigeria must navigate this reality, not with fear, but with strategy and negotiation. The Sahel, the borderlands, the highways connecting communities, they remain the ultimate arbiters of movement. No law or strike can fully control them. Life moves along these routes. Goods, people, and ideas travel despite uncertainty. Geography does not take sides. It only facilitates movement, connection, and sometimes risk. Sovereignty is not just about borders or law. It is about the people who live, work, and move within them. From traders in Sokoto to travelers crossing Sahel roads, life continues despite uncertainty. Protecting sovereignty means protecting movement, opportunity, and trust, the very lifelines of communities. For anyone moving through northern Nigeria, whether a local traveler, trader, or foreign visitor, a few truths are clear. Understand the terrain. Respect local authority. Check credible travel information before journeys. Recognize that mobility is a key part of survival. Uncertainty will always exist where borders are wide and movement is constant. But knowledge, awareness, and planning reduce risk. Nigeria's situation is not unique. Across the globe, nations face the same tension, the law of sovereignty versus the practicalities of power. Every alleged or real foreign strike raises these questions. Who decides what is permissible? Who controls information? Who safeguards people without undermining authority? These questions are complex, but unavoidable. For Nigeria, moving forward means balancing security and mobility, international cooperation and sovereignty, law and practical realities. For travelers and locals, it means staying informed, cautious, and connected. And for the world, it means understanding that sovereignty is both a right and a responsibility. As this series ends, remember, geography, law, power, and people are inseparable. Alleged strikes, foreign involvement, or rumors of intervention are not just headlines. They are reminders of the fragile balance that nations, communities, and travelers navigate every day. And in that balance lies the story of northern Nigeria, its people, its roads, and its sovereignty.